Okay, it's 9 o'clock. We're meeting in the central jury room at the Hood County Justice Center at 1200 West Pearl Street, Granbury, Texas. Mr. Deaver, would you please do an invocation?
Let us pray. Lord, I just thank you for this glorious day. Just be with the ones in loss in Rancho Brazos and all of Hood County, the people in Moore, Oklahoma. Just be with them with their suffering and their loss. Comfort them and guide them. Lord, I also ask you to guide us as Commissioner of Court, not just here, but in the government offices up to the presidency. Just give us wisdom and direction. And all these things we pray in your name. Amen.
Amen.
Join me in pledge allegiance to the flag. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Join me in the pledge to Texas. Honor the Texas flag. I pledge allegiance to thee, Texas, one state, under God, one and indivisible.
Special presentations. Maybe Mike Scott's on first.
Or second. Who's on second? Okay. Judge, Commissioners, thank you for the opportunity to speak to you this morning. I brought Sandra Walton, my Marketing and Events Chair and our Director, and also Mrs. 4th of July, so if you got any hard questions for us, I'll get Sandra up here. But pardon me, I'm about to lose my voice. We are looking forward to a great 39th annual 4th of July celebration. The theme of the celebration is "This is my country," and the grand marshals for the parade are the Riley Stevens family out of Toller. I'm sure you all know Riley Stevens and what happened in that issue. Riley rode with us. His dad called me, Mick called me in 2008 and said, "I think my son's coming back from Afghanistan," and he always wanted to ride in the 4th of July parade, and could you save a spot for him? And we did. He actually got here the night before. He and his wife rode in our parade in 2008, and then of course in September of 2012 he was killed in Afghanistan. So I think they're going to have probably about eight members of the family are going to be riding in two vehicles. So should be a great event. And then of course, pardon me, let me back up just a little bit. We start on Wednesday night with vendor check-in, and I know that's always a bit of a hassle around the square. We try to get all the cars out of the square hopefully by about 3:30 or 4, because we like to bring in the food vendors on the north side, start them early and get them going, and then about 5 o'clock, as soon as we can get all the cars out of there, we start bringing the vendors in. We expect to have around 100 vendors on the square. We'll get them all in there by midnight. This is kind of a staff killer for us, because unfortunately, the prime movers and staff have to be there for vendor check-in on Wednesday night. We get out of there probably about midnight, and then at 5 o'clock in the morning, we get up to do the parade. The parade and the fireworks are both on Thursday, July the 4th, and vendors on the square will be there from Thursday, Friday, and Saturday. You have just a small piece of the events that are going on each day, but there will be other events going on too. I will tell you that Thursday is going to be a huge day, like I say, starting out early in the morning with the parade, and then vendors on the square all day. Ranch rodeo at the reunion grounds. In fact, I think maybe the sheriff's posse is going to be involved in that, and doing the grand entry, I think, for that. And then the fireworks show over the lake will be about 9:45. We have moved the fireworks display spot. As you probably know, we lost the property. The Hill property was sold, and the new owner is going to have heavy equipment in there working, and so he said he wouldn't be able to let us in. We fortunately found another spot. We're moving, pardon me. We're moving down just behind Kroger's, where the Longhorns are, the property there where the Longhorns. So fortunately we've garnered that property, and actually the fireworks shooter thinks it's going to really be a better spot for us. We've got better distance. In fact, we can go to a 6-inch shell, and I ordered about 50 6-inch shells, and they're not linear. We've been doing a 5-inch show. A 6-inch shell is not merely whatever the number is, 20% larger, it's like half again bigger. So we ought to have a spectacular show, probably be firing about 1,800 shots that will run for 30 minutes. So we've had the fire marshal and the police department. Captain Hines has been out and reviewed the spot. We know how we're going to control traffic out there. So we're going to wind up probably closing off, what is that, Crawford Street, from just beyond where you turn into the Plantation Inn. We'll close it off in the afternoon before the fireworks, and we'll close it down to just beyond Ruth's Place. So that whole section of the street will be cleared, will be closed, and there'll be police officers out there from the city. Also, of course, Kroger's is involved. They're thrilled. They'll have a mass of people in their parking lot once the word gets out. So I guess the big question that we probably need to discuss is Friday the 5th, and whether or not the city and the county are going to be able to make that a holiday or not for the employees. As you know, Friday with vendors on the square makes it pretty tough, Judge, to do business in the courthouse. So. And it would make it a whole lot easier for us parking-wise and for our tourists that come to town. We estimate that we bring, on a good 3-day weekend, we'll bring about 100,000 people into Granbury. And estimates range from probably $3 to $5 million direct tourism impact. So it is the largest event we do in Granbury. So we appreciate your assistance. We appreciate you bearing with us. I know it's difficult for everybody. The city and the county both, all your employees and volunteers, just do an outstanding job. So with that, be happy to answer any questions, comments.
Anyone have any questions?
I heard, are the booths going to stay open longer this year? What's the booth hours this year?
Booth hours?
Yes, let's see. Thursday night, it's till 6 o'clock. Friday night, we have the street dance, so they're going to stay up until 11. The majority of them are going to stay up until 11 o'clock that evening. And then Saturday, they'll be leaving around 6.
That's what I heard. I guess I heard the Friday night, they're going to be open till 11. That's good. That'd be kind of interesting to see how that goes.
I tell you what, we will probably put it on the June meeting to discuss and take appropriate action on adding an extra day of holiday, because the courthouse will not be able to be used. So we'll put that on the agenda for
June 11th.
Yeah, June 11th.
Okay, thank you. If I could have about 30 more seconds to talk
Sure.
about. Totally different subject. The Chamber, the Hood County Builders, Fort Worth Builders Association are putting on an event this evening at 6 o'clock at the Granbury Conference Center, and it's basically called Help Rebuild Granbury. We're bringing in 2 local builders, 2 insurance reps, a contract law attorney, and basically it's going to be kind of a panel discussion and a Q&A opportunity for the folks to come in. We've got 9 Spanish interpreters that are going to be there, so we'll be covering the waterfront on that. I have no idea how many people are going to show up. We tried to get it out. This thing came together in less than a week, and really the Fort Worth Builders Association called me. They had done this for West, and they said it was very well received. So it's not an advertorial. It's not an opportunity for builders to try to find, or roofers to try to find customers. It's an opportunity to try to help the folks that have been suffered severe damage. So would be glad to have you guys attend. Anybody that would like to attend, I talked to the sheriff about it a little bit earlier. It has been put together fairly quickly. The city's been very helpful in helping us do that. So anyway, that's it. I thank you for your time.
6:30?
6 o'clock.
6 o'clock.
Yes, sir, and like I say, probably run till maybe 7:30 or 8. It's primarily Q&A. We're going to open it up. Everybody's going to say a few words, and then we're just going to open it up for questions.
Okay. Thanks, Mike.
Thank you, Mike. Okay, Mary.
Good morning, Judge and Commissioners. We have a couple of presentations to make this morning, awards for service, and the first one goes to Kaylee Greer for 5 years of service to Hood County. She is on vacation this week, so she won't be able to pick it up at this court, but we'll get a picture for the newsletter. We have another one, Cotton Howell. Judge Howell celebrated 5 years with the county this month. He had to get his award early because he had court this morning. But we do have one more, and that is for Donald Linney for 20 years of service to Hood County. So if you don't mind, Judge, making this presentation.
Okay.
Halfway there, Don, just 20 more.
Yeah. Here you go, give me a handshake. Yeah, that's all good.
Break the camera.
I see him in y'all's office and
Show your blue jeans.
Yeah. Don's pickup was picked up at his house and carried 2.5 blocks away, and he couldn't find it the night of the tornado, and I told him if he didn't find it, he was going to have to pay for it, so. Maybe.
One more.
Thank you, Don.
Use this one. Back and forth.
Thanks, yeah. Leave mine down. All right, consent agenda is the next item. Does any commissioner wish to pull anything off the consent agenda? If not, I'll entertain a motion to approve.
Motion.
Second.
Motion made by Commissioner Deaver, seconded by Commissioner Roan. Any further discussion? Then all in favor? Aye. Opposed? The motion carried. Before we get on to the next one, does any citizen wish to make any comments about any agenda item? If so, raise your hand. The sheriff has forms. Have you already filled out one, Christy? Okay, good. All right. Anyone else? Okay, thank y'all very much. Next item is to accept donations for the library, or is that part of the consent?
That's consent.
Agenda.
Okay, business, subdivision, roads, and plats.
Morning, Judge Cochran, Commissioners. We request that you hold a public hearing to consider and take appropriate action on the replat of 904R, Unit 8, Pecan Plantation. This replat consists of combining lots 904 and 905, and it will create an 843 thousandths of an acre called Lot 904R. The property is located within the Water Quality District in Precinct 2. A letter from the PPOA is on file acknowledging this replat. Staff has reviewed this replat and makes a recommendation to approve Lot 904R, Unit 8, Pecan Plantation as presented.
Okay, a public hearing is now open to consider and take appropriate action on the action to replat Lot 904, Unit 8, Pecan Plantation. Does anyone wish to make any comments on this while the public hearing is on? Anyone? Okay, the public hearing is closed.
Make the motion to accept.
Second.
Have a motion made by Commissioner Roan, seconded by Commissioner Berry to approve this replat of Lot 904 and be known as 904R, Unit 8, Pecan Plantation. Any further discussion? Then all in favor? Aye. Opposed? Motion carried.
Judge, the next one, we ask also to hold a public hearing to consider and take appropriate action on the site development plan for Highway 51 storage at 3715 Weatherford Highway. This proposed site plan is for RV storage situated on 3.6 acres of tract. The property is located within the Water Quality District in Precinct 4, and the plan proposes a total of approximately 70 storage units, but does not does not propose an OSSF. Staff has reviewed this site plan and makes a recommendation to approve the site plan for Highway 51 storage.
All right, the public hearing is now open to about a replat of our plant development plan 51 storage at 3715 Weatherford Highway in Granbury. Does any citizen wish to make any comments about this? None? Then I'll entertain, the public meeting is now closed. Public hearing is, I'll entertain a motion to approve.
Question, Friar.
Yes.
The road that they're going in though, Don, I drove that yesterday on that road.
Yes, sir.
Is that a private road or a county road?
Oh, it's a private road.
Would that be their access for egress and in and out of there?
Yes, sir.
Is there a problem with that road at all that you know of?
Each one of those properties that have an access.
So is already access granted there? Motion to approve.
Second.
Motion made by Commissioner Berry, seconded by Commissioner Roan to approve. Any further discussion? Then all in favor? Aye. Opposed? Motion carried. Thank you very much, Mr. Lenny. Mr. McBroom.
Morning, Judge, Commissioners. I have been presented with several bills for storm cleanup related to tornadoes. I'm required to have a budget before I can pay for those or bring them to court, and so I would like to ask you to provide a budget for us to do that. What I would propose is that we use Fund 101 to separate the accounting for all of these expenditures so that they're encapsulated there. What I would suggest is that we take this in stages. What I have right now in hand is about $60,000 of invoices to be paid from various sources directly related to storm damage. You have probably just over $3.4 million of available fund balance that has not been committed to anything else. So what I would suggest is that today, if you would please allow us to transfer $100,000 or $200,000, whatever you think is appropriate, out of the general fund and take it out of accumulated fund balance, put that over into Fund 101, and then as we spend that for storm recovery, I can bring you a specific accounting of everything that has been paid. And then if we need more, well, then you could provide that additional funding later. We're likely to get some grants, some other kinds of assistance, but in the meantime, there are bills that need to be paid. So I would ask that you consider that and give us your approval to do that.
Question.
Yes, sir.
If we go ahead and do that, and we get grant money, can we take that grant money and put it back in our fund balance account?
Is it reimbursable if you set a separate fund up?
Yes, we can do that just about any way you want to.
Okay.
I'd suggest if you already have $60,000 in hand, and a lot of these are local vendors who are paying people to do certain types of work, so I'd suggest we start with the $200,000 level.
I agree.
Have you gotten a bill on the chipper yet?
Commissioner Deaver just gave me that this morning, including the freight. It's $41,700.
Is that an actual invoice, or is that just a, I mean, where they delivered it and dropped the invoice? I mean, we'll have environmental health from Gilbert Environmental, we'll have the Port of Cans. I mean, we'll have a lot of bills coming in, but is that actually a statement, or is that just a notice that they've delivered it?
This is net due on receipt.
Okay.
May 23rd, $41,700.
Is that included in that 60,000 that you were talking about?
Yes, okay. Well, later in the agenda, we're going to have a presentation from one of the grants that's out there from the Texas Department of Agriculture, and Grant Works is here to present. So, you know, I think we're going to have some bills. We know that.
Yes, clearly.
Besides comp time, you know, which is another issue, but just can't do anything about it. Because both the Sheriff's Department, the Fire Marshal's Office, and the road ops people went above and beyond and worked around the clock. So, I mean, that's going to be part of it.
Well, and those charges could also be placed in the same fund so that they're all corralled together. We can account separately for the overtime, the comp time, directly related to the storm. I think to qualify for most grant reimbursement, they have to be specifically accounted anyway.
So, Commissioner Berry, you think $200,000 is sufficient for starters?
To start, because bills hadn't started coming in yet, except what, the chipper is a big one, but I understand, if Commissioner Deaver, if I'm wrong, correct me, but if we should buy that chipper, that lease payment goes against the purchase price, is that correct?
Correct, but we have to make the decision within a month.
We had a preliminary estimate on the trash haul off, and it was 71,000, but I think it's going to go higher than that, so.
We were already at 34 dumpster load, 34,000 Friday.
Yeah, it'll be 100.
It'll be in the hundreds.
I was
It'll be
out
100.
Saturday, and they were hauling off Saturday, so.
They were all on Monday, too.
Monday, yeah.
So I'd say that's going to end up at $100,000 by itself.
Well, if you start throwing in comp time, overtime charges, it may be $300,000 that we need for the next month.
I suggest 300 then. Anybody have a problem with that?
No, we need to get it in reserve. We don't need these people held up getting paid.
Okay,
Well, a question is going to come up later in the agenda as well. Mr. Lenny lost his pickup. We found it, but it's unidentifiable, but we found it. But, I mean, if we buy that out of Fund 55, is that reimbursable back, or we get the insurance back from risk management?
Yes.
Okay. That's fine. I mean, that's the kind of question I think Dick was asking a while ago, is some of the stuff will be reimbursable. If we get a grant, I mean, we'll find that out, or we'll start dealing with that shortly, but some of that could be reimbursable back to the...
Grants, it could come from insurance recoveries, or...
Could come from fundraising. A lot of sources.
Was that a motion a while ago, Judge? Or do you need a motion?
Motion for set aside $300,000.
Did you make that, Dick?
Yeah, that's fine.
Who seconded that?
I'll second.
Have a motion made by Commissioner Rowan and seconded by Commissioner Deaver to allow the county auditor to put $300,000 out of the reserve fund into Fund 101 for the payment of the cleanup and associated expenses for the tornado. Is any further discussion on this? This is the initial funding. So if there's no further discussion, all in favor? Aye. Opposed? The motion carried. Thank you. Budget line item.
Thank you for that budget amendment, Commissioners and Judge. The expenditures that are scheduled for today's court come to $321,523.72. These have been listed. I've provided you with a payment warrant for each item. Some of the larger ones are to Ben.E. Keith Company for jail groceries, $13,219.51. To Cleveland Asphalt Products, $14,017.20 for road operations material. To Cop Sink Incorporated for Constable 4 equipment, $11,811.75. There's an internal transfer to Fund 112 to cover cost of attorneys and court reporters and visiting judges, $45,440.45. To J.P. Morgan Chase Bank, $15,218.72 for credit card purchases. That would represent various supplies, travel expenditures, and the like. There's a progress payment to Net Data Corporation for the RVI imaging conversion, and that is $18,500. To Somerville County for out-of-county inmates, $24,092. To Tyler Technologies Incorporated, this is a payment of $30,500 to cover the cost of the Tyler Eagle recorder. That's the archival cost of the online vital records. And then to Train, $23,204.84. These are for building repairs. And to Vulcan Construction Material, $13,625.16 for road ops materials. Those are the items we would request your approval to pay for this court. I'd be glad to answer any questions you might have about them.
Anyone have any questions for the county auditor? Then I'll entertain a motion to approve payment of bills.
So moved.
Motion made by, seconded by Commissioner Berry. Any further discussion? Then all in favor? Aye. Opposed? Motion carried.
Stan, just before you step down, just to make sure we did something here, we had 2 other budget amendments. Did we take all those at one time a while ago, or is that what you did, Judge?
Yes.
So you did county court of law and the sheriff on those 2 other, okay.
Yeah, because
Fine, I just didn't want to
there's
miss it.
2 others in there.
Right. We're at miscellaneous, discuss and take appropriate action on moving the county treasurer's office. We have talked with the county treasurer this morning, and she would like to table this until she can do some more work on the amount of space that's in the courthouse for her move. So I'll entertain a motion to table this.
So moved.
Second.
Have a motion made by Commissioner Berry, seconded by Commissioner Roan to table this item. Any further discussion? Then all in favor? Aye. The motion carried. Consider and take appropriate action to allow Texas Association of Counties to refund unemployment fund payroll contributions account that exceeds the minimum amount required. The one-year reserve of $43,944.59. Kathy?
Good morning, Judge.
Morning.
Commissioners. TAC did their 5-year audit on us on unemployment, and it appears that it was for the years 2008 to 2012. It appears that at this time we've exceeded our reserve by $43,944.59. All good news because we can need it right now, or we actually do need it right now. The letter that I got from TAC was dated May the 10th. That was a Friday. I was gone to school the following week. We did not have a court in between now and then. There was no time to get approval on the agenda. What the letter basically says is that if we don't get it signed by May 24th, which was last Friday, due to the mail and all of that, we didn't get it signed, that they automatically refund the money anyway, which again is a good thing. So that being said, I'm going to recommend to the court, along the lines of what Stan was saying earlier today, we did start tracking all of the overtime as of the last pay period. We could pretty much identify who'd been out there working by the timesheets. I've got to get with the sheriff to make sure that I've got his 28-day cycle personnel identified as to who was out there. I'd recommend putting this money into Fund 101, and we could possibly offset payment of the comp time with it.
Good idea.
Not let it build on the books.
The guys would appreciate that very much, getting paid for all the.
I think that was in that original motion, wasn't it, to do comp time too?
Well, we just discussed it,
Well-
but I think that's a great idea, Kathy.
I do too.
Put that 43,944.59 in that account, and we see where we're at. Once you have time to talk to the fire marshal, the sheriff, the road ops, and anybody, and excuse me, James, I didn't mean to slide environmental health. They've been out there all weekend. But any department that's associated with tornado damage, and we get those totals, and it's a running total as of today as well. For some people, over the weekend, environmental health worked, Saturday, Sunday, and Monday, so that we didn't have people putting things in the wrong dumpster. But I think you can come back with those department heads and elected officials and give us an update so we can make, allow you to pay that through that payment.
I'll send out a blanket email this morning just reminding all the supervisors and department heads that they need to clearly track that time. Like I said, it's pretty easy to identify with road operations. Law enforcement, it becomes a little more difficult because they are on a different
28-day
cycle. They're 28-day. But I'm sure that the sheriff and Rhonda Ship can both identify those.
So we need to formally approve this, or?
That's what I think she's asking for. She's already done the letter, but it was going to be sent to us on the 24th anyway.
So the motion is to transfer that $43,944.59 into Fund 101. Is that right?
Unless the
Ratify
auditor.
her letter and just let her put the balance in that 101 fund for now.
I'll make that motion, Judge.
Okay.
I second it.
Have a motion made by Commissioner Deaver, seconded by Commissioner Roan. Is any further discussion on this item? Then all in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. Thank you very much. Consider and take appropriate action regarding the request appointment of Richard English to replace Joe Ruth Sandell, whose term expires June the 30th. And I believe Christie wanted to speak on this. Ms. Massey?
Commissioners, I'm Christy Massey. The Upper Trinity Groundwater Conservation District covers 4 counties: our county, Parker, Wise, and Montague. There are 2 board members appointed from each county. They serve 4-year staggered terms. The opportunity to sit on this board applies to all of the people, all of the adult folks in our county. In the last year or so, I have spoken to several people who were interested in contributing to the board. But since Joe Ruth was home folks and doing a really good job, they didn't come to you guys and say, we want to take Joe Ruth's spot, because they didn't know that she was going to have so many calls on her time that she could only give 4 years. What I'm asking is that you table this for 1 month to give people opportunity from your county to come to you if they would like to serve. And Mr. English is a fine man, very knowledgeable, and I applaud his and AMUD's contribution and actions in the recent horrible things that have happened in our county. But I do ask that you give the rest of the folks in this county an opportunity to come to you and see if they would like to join and give their contributions in one way or the other. Thank you, gentlemen.
Thank you, Christie.
Christie, I got a question. How come this didn't happen with the other people? Richard got nominated for this. How come other people wasn't nominated for this?
My assumption is that nobody was nominated.
Right.
Folks just come and say that they would be willing to give of their time and effort. The people that have spoken to me did not know that Joe Ruth was going to quit.
Okay.
You name somebody for the next 4 years in June. And the July meeting is not until the 3rd Monday of July. So putting this off a month won't inconvenience the board or any board actions.
Okay, thank you.
Gentlemen.
Thank you.
My concern about this is that I've personally heard from 3 people, including Mr. English, about this position. So somebody's known that Joe Ruth was leaving. And my concern is that when you have someone who is qualified, willing to serve, the longer you put it off, the longer you give them to think it over and back out. That's happened to us before.
Well, I have a resolution from the from AMUD, the Acton Municipal Utility District, in favor of appointing Mr. English, and also a letter from Mr. English requesting this. Do you wish to make a statement?
I just wanted to reiterate what I had mentioned in the letter, that, public water suppliers are a very important stakeholder, certainly in the proper management of groundwater supplies, but also in the process of assessing what available groundwater is there and how best to move forward in that process. Certainly my interest is, I've shown examples of interest in this with the groundwater district in the past as they were getting up and running. I think they've done a fine job. But I do want to be able to engage in the conversation. I feel the best way to do that is to actually have a seat on the board, to look at the data, move forward with a perspective, not an agenda. So I certainly would appreciate your consideration for my request.
Do you think you'd have any conflict between your position on AMUD and with the board?
Not with AMUD at all, no. I will bring a perspective in that, you know, we serve a rather large customer base, and I'm going to be looking at some of those issues with regard to moving forward. That doesn't make me an automatic yes vote or no vote on any item, but I do want to make sure that that perspective is looked at and addressed as the Upper Trinity moves forward with putting together their management plan and adopting permanent rules.
I will say for Commissioner Tout's perspective and Richard's, Lance Terry was appointed on this board 4 years ago, and he was a board member of AMUD at the time, and we had no conflict or no issue at that time as well.
He wasn't actually a board member. He was on the Impact Fee Advisory Committee.
Advisory Committee, okay.
And there were no conflicts. And I'm currently on that as well. But
I believe at Parker County, they have a well driller that's on the board as well, along that gives a different perspective as well, since they're the ones punching holes in the ground, drilling for water. So I see it as equal in the playing field. We have, Mike's done an excellent job and a great job from that perspective, and the fact is we need someone to look at both sides of the issues. And I see that obviously water is going to be a big resource, as we know about our lake already. So I see it as AMUD, and he worked for the city of Granbury as well for years. He knows a lot of the perspectives of bringing it forward on what we need, can do, and not do for groundwater issues.
I think he brings a different perspective from a long-term planning standpoint too, rather than just solving current problems.
Well, I've heard you speak, the motion, there's not a motion, but one to table, have a speaker to table, and I have a speaker to be appointed. What's the pleasure of the commissioners? Court.
I would make the motion to accept the appointment of Mr. English.
Second.
Have a motion made by Commissioner Roan, seconded by Commissioner Berry to approve the appointment of Richard English to replace Joe Ruth Sandell on the Upper Trinity River Granbury, Upper Trinity River Groundwater District Board. Is there any further discussion on this? And all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? The motion carried. Thank you, Mr. English. Thank you, Christie. All right, discuss and take possible action on the Texas Department grant. The grant works. Morning.
I have a little handout, the top page, the most important page, it has a timeline about what can happen. And what basically is eligible for reimbursement or not. I'm sorry, my name is Chloe Richards, and I do work for GrantWorks. First off, it's a $350,000 cap. This is called disaster relief. We've got several projects under management currently. We're well versed in the program. Most of the projects we've got going now are out in West Texas related to drought disaster, but it's still the same pot of money. It's still the good news about this project is that there is no cash match to the county, so you're not out of any direct out-of-pocket enticement, inducement, whatever you want to call it. We do have some paperwork. Should y'all decide to hire us today and ask us to move forward with the application, we've got some paperwork that needs to go into the state immediately. One of them was something I saw on the agenda today to ask for a waiver for a competitive bidding process. We have a letter that goes straight to the state that says this is a disaster. You know, we've got the governor's proclamation of the disaster. You know, all that stuff is already in place. What we will do is, again, the first thing that we'll have to do after the commissioner's hearing today would be to hold a public hearing, and we talked to Commissioner Berry before the meeting. We'll probably do that on June the 4th at 5 o'clock. Once that's set up, then you would consider the resolution, I believe, at your meeting on June the 11th, and we would submit the application post-haste after that.
Do you guys administer the grant?
We would, yes, sir. We would certainly like to be hired to administer the grant, yes.
What is our cost in this?
There will be no cost to the county. There is no match to the county. You're going to be out some time and that sort of thing, obviously, to document the expenses and that sort of thing. So you'll be out some labor costs.
I think he's asking though, what's the percentage or?
Your fee.
Your fee is 9.5% or so when you.
I think our fee is 10%.
Okay,
But it is not, it has come from it comes from the grant.
right.
So whatever we get, you get 10% of that?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
If I read this grant right, when it came across from the Texas Department of Agriculture, it's debris clearance and removal, roads, guardrails, signage, bridge low water crossings, then water or sewer infrastructure, which the county itself has none, but ditches and culverts, and that's in the area that we're talking about when we spoke last week on the phone or when we spoke to your office. So,
Had lots of signage down
Any debris removal,
there. Right, Don?
debris removal or anything like that will definitely fit into the project.
we can go back to what we've already hauled off or what we've already done, correct?
Yes, sir. As soon as we get some documents signed, yes, sir.
Okay.
We can go back and claim from the 15th.
Well, some of it's been moved temporarily, too. We've got a lot of stuff that's got to be moved a second time.
Right.
He has to get the way I read this timeline, he has to submit a public hearing ad to the newspaper for publication by Saturday, June the 1st. I asked him, I'm going to check with our annex in our meeting room for next Tuesday at 5 o'clock, see if it's available. Because he has to have the public hearing for the public to get to. So that was one of the things that he and I talked about before the meeting started
Make it
today.
available.
It really doesn't matter where we meet as long as it's a public area and
Right.
and as long as it's stated in the newspaper. And it's after 5 o'clock.
With that, Judge, I'd make a motion that the Commissioners Court move forward with the Texas Department of Agriculture grant and the employment of Grant Works involvement to try to repay some of the county fund balance on this disaster.
I'll second.
Who did? Okay, have a motion made by Commissioner Barry, seconded by Commissioner Deaver to allow Grant Works to administer a grant from the Texas Department of Agriculture for tornado cleanup. And is any further discussion on this item? Then all in favor? Aye. Opposed? Motion carried. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Commissioner.
Steve, that'd be June the 4th, maybe, Tuesday?
For the public hearing?
Yes.
Yes, that's exactly correct.
Good
But I don't
answer.
have a location, but we're going to work on that as soon as court's over.
Okay.
Item number 5 is information technology. Discuss, take appropriate action regarding the expansion of the internet bandwidth proposal from Charter.
Good morning, Judge and Commissioners. Just a little over a week ago, I had a conversation with Charter Business Communications, and we were discussing the needs that we're having as we move forward in our software projects and then with what we're doing in the transfer of data on the internet. So I was asking him for pricing models on that, and I was really a little bit surprised that they actually had a rollback in their pricing. And I said, so, well, tell me, what is it if we need to expand our bandwidth? He said, well, I can double your bandwidth for a little over $50 a month. I said, send me the stuff. Send me the gear, because we're quickly growing, you know, as we expand and do more things on the internet. This is such an important item that when we have an opportunity like this to seize that opportunity. And so we would actually be doubling what we have out to the internet at this point. That would take us up to a 40 by 40 meg connection with fiber. And I bring that before you. And also, you'll see one other thing on there. If it makes sense, that's for addresses that we use out on our internet side, our public side. And we have to use those addresses. And right now, we've run out. We have a block of them, kind of like we just have a block of other things. We have a block of them. When we run out, we basically need to have some more of those addresses as we stand up new equipment on the internet. And I'd like to just bring that for you for your approval. If there's any questions you have, I'd be glad to answer those.
Jackie, to go along with this, what about all those old computers, XPs and all of that, you know, if you're going to, some of these can't even take advantage of this.
That's right. Well, one of the other things that we've did in the past years, Judge, is that we take on things like that, PCs and items that were really, if they were just out of date, completely out of date, or if they had just given up, we were bringing those to the court, 1, 2 at the time, and as a matter of fact, I have a couple today on the agenda. And we've been taking it like that, coming in our discussions with probably our workshops for budget, everything that we will have to address both software and hardware needs. And we've been taking those one at a time until we actually want to take on a more basically like a department at the time and go that route. But I wanted to make sure that we took that into account when we go to budget.
Okay, any commissioner wish to make a motion to approve this?
I'll make a motion.
It's a no-brainer.
Motion made by Commissioner Tout, seconded by Commissioner Berry. Any further discussion? Mr. Rowan, you?
No, I think it's a no-brainer. We got to do it.
Okay. Anyone else? Then all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. Discuss take appropriate action, replacement of 2 computer workstations, Justice Center.
Judge, this item here and the next item right behind it really are 2 basically the same thing. I'll leave it up to the court to decide if they want to take them both at once or take them individually. Both of these are for systems that have just seen their days. The ones that are in the security offices down in the end of the Justice Center here, they've been here since the Justice Center was turned up. And so they just run into their days. We've repaired most of these numerous times. And this last time around, we just said we need to try to get it to where we can just get to a point where we can replace them. So this first item is to actually replace the 2 security PCs, the one that is in the office up front and the one that's in the detention area in the back when they station people there whenever they're having trials, so that they can both have watch the cameras on those and also communicate back and forth. The item that comes to, if we're doing 2 of those, would be $1,731.52. Those systems would be coming from Dell, was our best pricing model on that at the time.
Motion approved.
So are you approving both of them?
Yeah,
Yes.
B and C.
B and C.
B and C.
All right, I have a motion made by Commissioner Berry. Do I have a second?
Second.
Seconded by Commissioner Roan to approve the workstations, new workstation computers for the Justice Center, 2 for that and 1 for the Elections Administrator.
Fund 55.
Pardon me?
From Fund 55.
From Fund 55, yes. All right, is any further discussion? Then all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried.
At the very,
Yeah, who seconded it?
I did.
Oh, yeah, okay. All right. Jackie?
Judge, the final item that I have today is one regarding the monitors that are here in the Justice Center. We've put the monitors in there that we've had to replace them a couple of times, and we put the monitors that we have in stock there. But whenever you go in and you try to look at 32 cameras on a 19-inch screen, it's just really, it's just a little difficult to make out a lot of detail. I've been looking at some pricing. I'd like to put in 2 at least 32-inch monitors there, so that all of the cameras can be a little bit, you can see a larger area with it and a little more detail that way. We would probably just hang these on the wall there in the Justice Center security office. What I would propose to do here is not to exceed $1,200 on these 2 units, so that way we can get the proper brackets and if there's any additional hardware that we need to get them connected. I'd be glad to answer any questions on those if you have any.
So you're saying a minimum of 32, you might be able to shop around and get something bigger because
The prices change by the day
they do, and the difference between 32 and 40 is sometimes $50, so.
Right. And that's exactly the reason we want to just look at that. Then we come in today, the prices may be different. You know, usually it's a decrease that we see in these types of items, so we just want to.
I'd make the motion that we approve this based upon the IT director's discretion on what is chosen with the not-to-exceed number that he's picked.
One other thing, Judge, I believe that this would qualify to possibly come from the security, courtroom security or Justice Center security. I don't have that line number right in front of me, but
That
I
not
do.
to exceed number.
$1,200.
$1,200.
For the two, or individually? Okay.
I have a motion made by Commissioner Roan. Do I have a second?
A second.
Motion made by Commissioner Roan, second by Commissioner Tout to approve this, the purchase and installation of two displays not to exceed $1,200 for the Justice Center Security Office. Any further discussion? Then all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Motion carried. It is now 10:10 and we're adjourned, 10:50 and we're adjourned. Is that right? No, 9:50.
950.